What if I told you that everything that's been used to destroy you can now be used to build you? That every betrayal, every silent dismissal, every time someone looked at you like you were replaceable, it wasn't the end of you. It was training. Brutal, invisible training for something far more dangerous than they ever expected. A version of you they can't break again. This video isn't about motivation. It's about transformation. Because once you understand what I'm about to show you, not just hear it, but absorb it, your brain will start operating differently. You won't flinch at manipulation. You won't fold under rejection. You won't even recognize the old version of yourself that used to beg for closure or chase validation. Imagine standing in a room full of people who once made you doubt your worth. Only now they don't even recognize your presence. You're colder, calmer, quieter, but untouchable. And deep down, they know it. That's the power I'm about to hand you. This isn't based on self-help cliches. This is Machiavellian clarity. This is how the most unbreakable minds on earth are forged, through discipline, perception, silence, and emotional armor. But here's the thing, most people can't handle what's coming next. Because once I reveal it, there's no going back to who you were. So if you're ready to stop surviving and start ruling, don't blink. Because what you're about to learn won't just protect you, it will change you. Quickly drop a comment and tell me, what phone are you watching this video on? I want to see which device the majority of you are using. And make sure to subscribe to the channel because your support truly matters. May God bless you with massive success. Now let's begin the video. They tried to break you. They didn't just hurt you, they calculated it. Every lie, every betrayal, every moment they made you doubt yourself wasn't random, it was strategic. Because the more broken you are, the easier you are to control. The more emotionally reactive, the less dangerous, the more afraid, the more obedient. And maybe you believed them. Maybe when they laughed at your pain, you swallowed your voice. Maybe when they left, you convinced yourself it was your fault. And maybe every time you tried to rise, someone was there reminding you, intentionally or not, that you weren't enough. But what if I told you they were wrong? What if nothing can defeat you ever again? Not rejection, not failure, not abandonment. Not because the world suddenly got kinder, it won't. But because you got sharper, stronger. Because you finally stopped playing by their rules. See, the truth is brutal. The world doesn't care about how good your heart is. It doesn't reward innocence. It rewards awareness, control, power. And the ones who understand this, truly understand this, don't break. They bend reality. They don't ask for permission. They take command of their own story, and that's what this is about. Not revenge, not bitterness, but transformation. Psychological evolution. A new version of you that doesn't flinch, doesn't beg, doesn't crumble. They tried to break you and maybe they succeeded, but now you're learning what they never wanted you to know. That you can become untouchable. Not numb, not emotionless, but immune. You don't need to fight them anymore. You just need to rise above them so far they can't reach you even when they scream your name. So stay with me, because by the end of this, you won't just understand how to protect yourself. You'll understand how to rule your own mind, your emotions, and your reality. Nothing can defeat you again, unless you let it. Niccolo Machiavelli wasn't a villain. He was a mirror, a brutal reflection of how the world actually works when you stop pretending it's fair. He understood something most people deny until it's too late. People aren't always good. In fact, they'll lie to your face, smile while they sabotage you, and pretend to care, just long enough to get what they want. And if you keep living as if everyone's heart is as pure as yours, you'll keep getting crushed by those who know better. Machiavelli didn't write for the comfortable. He wrote for the ones who wanted to survive and win. His philosophy was simple. Don't aim to be loved. Aim to be respected, because love is fleeting. Respect, once earned through strength and presence, holds power. You don't need to be feared to be cruel. You need to be feared to stay free. Because when people fear losing your presence, they think twice before trying to manipulate it. The world doesn't reward softness. It tolerates it until it doesn't. What it truly respects is control, presence, the ability to see things clearly without emotional distortion, and act decisively when others freeze in confusion. And no, this isn't about becoming cold or heartless. It's about becoming strategically aware. It's about knowing when to speak and when silence is the sharpest weapon, when to give and when to withdraw, when to forgive and when to walk away without looking back. The truth is harsh. If you don't know how to protect your value, someone else will define it for you and they'll always discount it. So what's the Machiavellian law of survival? Power is perception, control is internal, and survival isn't guaranteed to the kind, it's guaranteed to the prepared. Let others waste their energy trying to please everyone. Let them get crushed under the weight of constant approval seeking. You're not here to beg for peace. You're here to become the type of person no one dares to disturb. Remember this, you either bend reality to your will or you let it bend you into someone you no longer recognize. And once you understand that, survival isn't just possible, it's inevitable. Before you ever lose a battle out there, you've already lost it in here, in your mind, in the war between your thoughts and your reactions. Machiavelli understood this long before modern psychology caught up. The most dangerous enemy you'll ever face is your own emotion, not your opponent's strength, not your failures, not your circumstances, but how you respond to them. Think about it. Jealousy, fear, insecurity, rage. How many times have those emotions pulled you into decisions you later regretted? How many times have they clouded your vision, ruined your discipline, shattered your confidence? Not because the world broke you, but because your reaction did. This is why the internal battlefield is the first one you must conquer. Because once someone else controls your emotions, they control your mind. And once they control your mind, they don't need chains to keep you weak. You'll do it yourself. But here's the truth they don't want you to realize. Your emotions aren't your enemy. Your lack of control is. Machiavelli advocated for strategic detachment, not to become emotionless, but to master your emotional weaponry, to wield it with precision, not recklessness. He believed power belonged to the person who could stay calm while everyone else was at war with themselves. And today, modern psychology confirms it. Studies on emotional intelligence and cognitive reappraisal show that individuals who can regulate their emotional responses, especially under pressure, outperform others in leadership, relationships, and resilience. In short, if you control the inside, nothing outside can defeat you. Let them try to insult you. You don't flinch. Let them betray you. You don't fold. Let them succeed while you're still building. You don't envy. You stay focused. Because you've outgrown the childish need to react. You've replaced it with the adult capacity to command. This is emotional invincibility. It's not about pretending nothing affects you. It's about choosing how and when things affect you. It's knowing that a single second of controlled silence can be more powerful than 1,000 angry words. People expect you to explode. They expect you to fall apart. They expect you to self-destruct. Surprise them with composure. Break them with calm. Because when you master your inner world, you no longer need to chase respect. You become the kind of presence people instinctively respect. Control yourself, and you'll find that the world begins to respond very differently. And from that moment forward, nothing can defeat you again, not because it stops coming, but because it stops mattering. The power of cold perception. There's a truth most people never learn, and it's this. It's not who you are, it's who you appear to be. That may sound manipulative, it may sound unfair, but it's reality. And as Machiavelli once warned, men judge more by the eye than by the hand. In other words, they don't care what you actually are. They care what they believe you are. And belief is power. You could be confident, or you could just appear confident. It doesn't matter. If they believe you're unshakable, they'll treat you like you are. If they believe you're not to be crossed, they won't. This is the Machiavellian secret. Perception bends reality. And if you control the perception, you control the game. This isn't about pretending. It's about projecting. It's about building an image so strong, so centered, so unaffected that people assume you're beyond reach. And in a world that feeds off emotional chaos, that assumption becomes your shield. Psychology backs this. It's called the halo effect, when one dominant impression overrides all others. If people perceive you as confident, competent, and composed, they'll overlook your flaws. If they perceive you as insecure or emotional, they'll magnify your weaknesses, even if they're minor. This is why perception isn't just important, it's everything. Ask yourself, when you walk into a room, what does your presence say before your mouth ever opens? Do you project strength, or do you ask for acceptance? Do you radiate indifference to noise, or do you absorb every glance, every whisper? Because here's the truth, people don't respect love. They respect mystery. They respect the one they can't read, the one who isn't available to everyone, the one who holds their ground without explaining themselves. That's cold perception, not because it lacks emotion, but because it doesn't leak emotion. You might feel pain, but no one needs to see it. You might feel doubt, but you don't broadcast it. You might be unsure, but you move like you're already certain. Be seen as untouchable, and you become untouchable. It's not magic, it's not lying. It's control. It's understanding that in a world obsessed with appearances, perception is a weapon. And when used correctly, it becomes armor no one can pierce. So the next time they try to define you, remember this: you don't have to prove them wrong. You just have to become someone they're too intimidated to misjudge. Control how you're seen, and the world will start treating you like the version you decided to become. Psychological warfare. Don't react. Command power doesn't always come from strength. Often it comes from silence. Because in psychological warfare, the first to react is the first to lose. They'll provoke you, mock you, test your limits. Not because they're strong, but because they want to see if you're weak. And the moment you lash out, defend yourself, or try to prove something, they've won. You've stepped into their trap. They control the game. You just showed them where the strings are. Machiavelli knew this deeply. He who controls the response controls the outcome. Not because he overpowers his enemy, but because he never gives them what they want most: emotional access. This is the strategy of extinction. In behavioral psychology, extinction happens when a reaction is no longer rewarded. If someone insults you and you don't respond, no anger, no defense, no visible effect, they lose interest. They lose power. Because without your reaction, their game has no prize, and it terrifies them. Your indifference becomes a threat. Your silence becomes unpredictable. And when people can't predict you, they can't control you. You flip the dynamic. They insult you. You smile. They expect fury. You offer calm. They want tears. You give them nothing. Suddenly, they're the ones reacting. They're chasing control. You're the one commanding the emotional field without even raising your voice. This is tactical disconnection, not coldness, not avoidance, but deliberate, controlled disengagement from emotional traps designed to sabotage your power. It's easy to scream. It's easy to rage. Anyone can do that. But to remain composed while the world tries to set you on fire, that's power. You become the presence no one dares provoke. Not because you're violent, but because you're unreadable. Because they don't know what you're thinking, how you'll move, or whether you'll even acknowledge their existence. That uncertainty is your armor. Let them throw stones, you don't flinch. Let them push buttons, you remove the buttons, because when you stop being predictable, you stop being controllable. And when you stop being controllable, you start becoming untouchable. Betrayal-proof. Build your emotional armor. If you walk into battle unprotected, don't be surprised when you bleed. And make no mistake, life is a battlefield. Not because everyone's out to get you, but because pain is guaranteed. People will betray you. Friends will turn distant. Love will disappear without warning. Even those who once swore loyalty will sometimes become the first to strike. But here's the difference between those who break and those who rise. One expected comfort, the other prepared for war. Machiavelli understood that betrayal wasn't a fluke. It was a feature of human nature. People act in their own interest. Circumstances change. Loyalty fades. That doesn't mean you become cynical. It means you build armor. Emotional armor. Not walls that keep everyone out, but layers that keep you standing when the storm comes. Armor doesn't make you less human. It makes you strategically human. Here's what it looks like. Cognitive shields. You stop taking things personally. Someone's betrayal is a reflection of their character, not your worth. Emotional rituals. Daily routines that anchor you. Cold showers, journaling, solitude, discipline. These are the things that make your core unshakable. Detachment layers. You give love, but don't depend on it. You trust, but you verify. You connect, but you don't cling. You train yourself to expect reality, not fantasy. Because strength doesn't come from avoiding pain. It comes from outlasting it. From staring it in the face and saying, "Not today." When you wear emotional armor, the world can hit you, but it can't defeat you. People will try to manipulate your guilt, your kindness, your memories, but you've already reframed the battlefield. You don't seek revenge. You don't beg for closure. You simply outgrow the weapon they once used. That's the power of restraint, of preparation, of walking through fire and choosing not to burn. So yes, betrayal is coming, but when it does, you won't break. You'll adjust your armor, straighten your spine, and keep walking. Because you didn't come here to trust blindly. You came here to lead yourself with clarity, with strength, with eyes wide open. The mindset that cannot be broken. You've seen what happens when you react. You've lived it, being pulled, twisted, shattered by things you couldn't control. Words became weapons, emotions became cages, and for a while you forgot who held the key, but not anymore. Because now you understand the truth. Your power doesn't come from being untouched, it comes from being untouchable. Not because nothing ever goes wrong, but because when it does, you don't fall apart. You don't chase their approval, you command respect, you don't beg for love, you move with purpose. You don't react, you choose. That's the mindset Machiavelli wrote for. Not the weak, not the naive, but for those who wanted to survive in a world that doesn't apologize for being brutal. Now the decision is yours. You can go back to being emotionally available to every insult, every betrayal, every shadow of doubt. Or you can step into something permanent, a mindset so unshakable, so sharpened, so brutally clear that nothing and no one can defeat you again, unless you allow it. Because once you rule your emotions, control your perception, build your armor, and stop reacting, you don't just protect yourself, you become the storm. So ask yourself, how do you want to be remembered? As the one who broke under pressure, or the one who rebuilt themselves so powerfully the world had no choice but to respect it? The battlefield is still here, but now, you're the one choosing the terms. And this time, you don't just survive the world, you rule it. Right now, there are 2 videos on your screen, handpicked just for you. Click to watch them. I'm sure you'll love every second.